Okay, you just saw how you can work with the metadata that's been applied to your images. The next thing that I want to show you is how you can work with keywords related to your files, related to your images. So what I'm going to do here is I have apples.jpg selected there. Doesn't really matter which image you have selected there though, and what I'm going to do, as always, is just sort of crank open the right hand side there and pull up that divider there just so we can see what's going on here on the right hand side after I click on my keywords panel tab there. So here inside the keywords panel, this is what we see here. Now it isn't too terribly exciting. I see events, and below that I see birthday, graduation, and wedding, and then below that I see places: New York, Paris, San Francisco, and so on. What are these for? What are these going to do for me? Well, what they're going to do is they're going to help me sort out my graphics, help me sort out my images, and also allow me to perform keyword searches. So in other words, I could do a search for wedding, and what I would get as a search result is any graphic that I've applied the wedding keyword to. Now, further to that, I can even create my own keywords, maybe people, or maybe I could add in some additional places, or maybe I could create a set of keywords for different animals that I've taken photos of, something like this, right? So let me show you how all this works. So if I select my apples.jpg and I look over inside the keywords panel, I don't see anything marked off, which means no keywords have been applied to apples. No keywords have been applied to this barn1detail.jpg file, and so on, right? So there's no keywords applied to any of the photos at this point. But what I could do is I could come along and I could select apples.jpg and I could say, well, this photo was taken at a wedding. Highly unlikely, but I don't have any wedding photographs, so this is just a quick example for you. It was taken at a wedding, and that wedding took place in New York, right? Or this photo of the barn was someone's graduation, and that was in San Jose, something like this, right? So all I'm doing is I'm putting these little check marks beside each of the keywords that I want to apply to the photo. Now, a couple of interesting things happen here. First of all, as I start clicking around on different photos inside the main content area here inside Bridge, you can see which ones have keywords applied to them and which images don't, right? So in other words, Bridge obviously remembers which images have keywords and which ones don't, and obviously which keywords have been applied. But also take a look up at the top of the keywords panel there. Assigned keywords, New York, wedding. Assigned keywords, nothing. Click on barn1.jpg, assigned keywords, graduation, San Jose. So that's kind of the idea there anyway. And again, this is just a really simple example here. Now, the next thing that I'd like to show you is how you can go about creating your own keywords in something called sub-keywords. So check this out. I'm going to remove the keywords off of this file here just by unchecking them there. There's no keywords on that guy. And Apples has wedding and also New York. So I'll uncheck those guys. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and create a new set of keywords. How am I going to do that? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this fella right here, all the way down in the bottom right corner of the keywords panel, that little cross there, that little plus, new keyword. And it's a custom keyword, so I can type in whatever I want here. So I'm going to type in animals. Okay, perfect. Now, apples obviously are not an animal, but my photo of the bird here is. So I'm going to mark him as an animal. And let's see, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. There we have a dog. I'll select him and mark him as an animal. And I think we might have one other. Maybe we don't. Nope, that's it. That's all we have. So there we go. That's kind of easy stuff. Maybe what I'll do, though, is I'll go and I'll set up another set of keywords. So I'll click on the same icon here down in the bottom right, new keyword. And this time I'll call this nature. There we are. Now, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but we're creating what I suppose you could call top-level keywords. Animals and nature is also on the top level there. We don't have any sub-keywords yet. But what I'll do here is I'll select my barn. Well, that's not really nature, is it? But it was taken outside. Maybe I'll take this photo of the barn here and I'll mark that as nature, and the boat, and maybe the bridge as well, something like this, right? But now what I want to do is I want to get a little bit more specific with my keywords here. I want to create some sub-keywords inside nature. So with nature selected, what I'll do is I'll click on this little fella here, new sub-keyword down in the bottom right corner. Click on that. And maybe what I'll do is I'll type in buildings, something like this. And a bridge is, well, kind of a building. Maybe I should have put construction or something like that. But anyway, I think you get the idea. I'll take my barn and I'll do the same thing. Then what I'll do is I'll scroll down a little bit. We have our sky. That's not a a piece of architecture, but it's definitely in nature. And same with a few of our others here. I'm just kind of doing this quickly here with you. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but hopefully you get the idea here. So by the time you work your way all the way through your images, probably what will happen is you'll mark them up with a few keywords each. In other words, maybe I mark the dog as animals, and also I mark it as dog, and also maybe I mark it as the owner's name, the owner of the dog there. And then what I could do at this point is I could start performing searches. So let me show you how this works. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to head up to the search field in the top right corner of the bridge interface. And maybe what I'll do is I'll do a quick search here for animals. There we go. Just hit enter. And there, the results that I get back, you can see here, find criteria, find animals inside my project files folder. And there's 2 images that have the animals keywords applied to them. All right, now, how about nature? I'm going to do a search here for nature. Okay, now what's neat here is we get all of the results back for all of the images that were tagged with the keyword nature, including anything that was labeled with buildings as well, which was my terrible example, but hopefully it's working for you. But now, if I do a search for buildings, I don't get all the nature photos, only the photos that were tagged with the buildings sub-keyword. Does that make sense? So hopefully you can see the power behind this, and hopefully you can make good use of it in your own work. Now, I'm going to get out of this search criteria here just by clicking on this sort of this dark gray X here, and that brings me all the way back out to my project files folder.